Hello there, and welcome to our webinar today entitled Teachable. We hope you gain so much insight based off of the information that NAFA provides each and every day for the people of our communities. So here's NAFA's mission statement. Our mission each and every day in doing the work that we do is to strengthen, keep, and reunite families by responsibly involving fathers and mothers in the lives of their children, families, and communities in order to provide a happy and safe family. So today's presentation is presented by me. I'm Cheryl Honey, and I'm the Training and Events Coordinator here at NAFA. I'm a member of the Dene Navajo tribe. My clans are Twabaha, Water's Edge Clan. I'm born for Twaahana, near the Water Clan, and I was born and raised on the Navajo Reservation. While living there, I did take some classes for Fatherhood is Sacred, which was entitled Fatherhood is Sacred at the time, and have just really been an advocate of it since then. It's completely changed my life and my family's life for sure. And so prior to coming to NAFA, I did obtain a degree in administrative justice and worked in the human resources field. And I'm just very happy to have joined the NAFA family and being able to contribute to our facilitators and the community at large for the mission of just strengthening families in general. I truly and honestly believe that, if we spearhead all the issues that our people deal with, whether it's domestic violence, drug and alcohol abuse, just whatever issues out there that may be, if we can strengthen our families from the core, I believe that there will be that change. And so the curriculum here at NAFA, the information that we teach is basically, as Mr. Pulley states, it's Native American 101. It's information that I can correlate with, that I remember. This stuff is information we've just known since we were growing up, and it's just a reminder to each and every one of us. And so that's my little testimony today. I am a mother of 4, and I'm a wife, and I just love caring for my family, and so I'm very happy to be here and happy to be able to share some information that we center our curriculum around. And so there's my email address if ever you need to talk to me or have any questions regarding our programs. The email address is cheryl@aznafa.org. So here's NAFA's goals. These are the outcomes that we desire for all our families and every individual that we work with. We want our people to become good and to live in goodness. We want our people to be decent. We want our people to be honorable, and we want our people to be courageous. And so we hold this question to everyone that we encounter, that we teach our curriculums to, and we ask, how do we get there? And so we have NAFA's approach, and we call it the 3 pillars, and we touch upon the topics of a person's self-worth, personal identity, and purpose. So self-worth, just to read a little bit on the information that Mr. Pulley has provided, much of a person's self-worth is tied to the safety and well-being as a child and the strength of the relationship to parents. It is important to realize how parents greatly influence their children's lives. How and what they have been taught, both good and bad, is vital in forming self-worth. It is the parents that lay the foundation of life, not schools, churches, friends, etc. What a person learns at home lasts the longest. And so we here at NAFA say, that self-worth is so important for each of us as individuals. I have learned, I have understood, and I have realized, just based off of all the people who have taught me that, it has a lot to do with my self-worth. My understanding of the teachings that my grandmothers have given me, that my mom has given me, that even my fathers and my uncles have given me. It really impedes on, how I think about myself and the worth that I have in this world. And so I think as individuals, we all need to understand that there is somebody out there, whether we're fathers or not, that we have a direct correlation to developing and shaping these young ones' self-worth. And so self-worth, like all important decisions, have direct correlation to self-worth. All important decisions out there that we face with, that we make each day, it correlates directly to our self-worth, because it shapes us basically. Strong self-worth brings self-care, self-control, self-motivation, and self-confidence. And so everyone has value and worth. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to understand, is that we are worthy, of greatness, that we are worthy of, just living a good life. And so I think one of the things that people need to understand is that we have so much control in the path that our lives can take, with the good choices that we can make, to shape our lives. It's all possible. And so next to self-worth, we have personal identity. So personal identity is the perceptions we have about ourselves over the course of our life. This includes our lifestyles, culture, family, and the part of our lives which we have no control, like our race, gender, or body image. Okay, so our personal identity, having the lifestyles that we have, I know growing up and having observed and maybe even once upon a time having lived in a lifestyle that wasn't so great, it does shape and it does teach us a lot about our personal identity. We start to believe, that that's all that we can amount to, whether it was a bad lifestyle. We start to believe that, that's just what we know, and that's just, what there is. And so oftentimes Mr. Pooley will make this suggestion, and he truly believes in it, quite honestly, is that, a person who's done so many wrong, who's made mistakes, he believes that you are worth more than the biggest mistake you've ever made in your life. And so although a lot of our family and our friends out there have lived a bad lifestyle, we can overcome it. We are more than capable to move past that and to understand that there are other lifestyles out there. Just because we've grown up in a bad one doesn't mean we have to stay in that one. And then of course we have, the part of our lives that we have no control over, whether it's our race, our gender, the body image that we have. That does have a lot to do with our personal identity. And so we here at NAFA say, it's so vital that we take care of ourselves, that, we take care of our mentality, our emotional state, and even just our body, making sure that we eat the right foods that we need, and the exercise that we need. And that's not just for the looks, but more so for health, it's so important. And one of the things that we say here at NAFA is that race and gender, all people are our people. As Native Americans, we don't have a word for stepchildren. And Mr. Pooley will say, and I quite honestly can attest to that in every culture and every tribe that I've met, I've not heard that there is a word for stepchildren or stepfamily. And like for example, in the Navajo culture, we call ourselves the Dene, the people. And I've always grown up knowing that we are 5-fingered people, and that we have 5 fingers and we can equally work the same. Doesn't matter what skin color you are, whether you're male or female, but we all have our parts and we all have our roles in shaping the lives of our future generations. And that should be the common ground that we adhere to. And so personal identity is huge with that. The challenges and successes of life also help create personal identity. You know, going back to those lifestyles I mentioned earlier, some people live those challenging lifestyles, and it does create that identity for ourselves. But, as we grow up and as we begin to understand life a lot more than when we were younger, we start to understand that there are other lifestyles out there. There are successes out there that we can accomplish, and then we start to set those goals. Finding one's true identity comes through and by truth, only through and by truth. And so I think, that's one of the things that Mr. Pooley is very adamant about is, and about Teachable, the topic for today's webinar is Teachable, is that truth is the biggest thing in being teachable. We must be able to understand truth. We must be able to find out the truth. We can't live in darkness. We can't live in confusion and in chaos. And by finding the truth behind things and about ourselves is a huge, that makes a huge impact on a person's path and a person's way of life. In reality, our identity is formed through the choices and actions, good and bad, that we take in life. And again, by finding the truth, you start to make better choices. By finding out the truth, you start to take action in a good way. That's so important. So major factors of personal identity is how parents think, talk, and treat their children. Okay, now going back to the lifestyles I mentioned earlier, some children out there, there's a lot of us in that boat that, we may not have lived the greatest lifestyle. And so parents have a direct connection to that. Parents need to understand that they impact the lives of their children so much. How they think and how they talk and how they treat their children has a great, great effect on their child's personal identity. And so having to realize that from the start and at a young age, as we teach our children the proper way, they then will understand that for themselves, and then they can then teach their children that good way as well. How we are treated indirectly by family and friends, peers, and other role models can also have a positive or negative effect. And so we say, how we're treated by other people in general does affect our identity. There was a time where if a person laughed at me or a person, gave me a side eye, whatever it was, I was hurt. There was a time where it affected me in a way like, oh, I'm not good enough. But, once we start to learn these tools and once we start to learn these good things and these good ways, we start to make it a negative effect or a positive effect. So now, having grown up and matured a lot more, I've come to the moment in life where I don't really care what other people think about me. What really matters most is just my family, my kids, my children, my husband, my mom, my little, my close-knit family. That's all that matters. And so if someone laughs at me, that's their choice. If they want to laugh at people, that's what they do, but it shouldn't negatively affect me and it shouldn't negatively have an impact on me. And so as we start to learn those tools, we start to overcome them, and it just gets easier over time. And that correlates directly with personal identity. And we move on into purpose. Purpose, why do we have purpose as one of our 3 pillars? Well, purpose brings direction. It brings self-improvement. It brings discipline. And it brings a greater meaning to life. And it helps to develop that self-worth and self-esteem. And then it also helps to define a plan to overcome problems. And so purpose is to have a purpose-driven life. And so as I sit here, talking about these topics with you, my purpose in life is to, just personally speaking, my purpose in life is to be the greatest mom I can be to my kids, being a good wife to my husband and standing beside him through all the things that we face, all, just the trials and tribulations that are out there, and it does truly bring a greater meaning to life for me. And so as we go through, our day to day, we start to understand that we have purpose out there. Some might be small impacts, some might be bigger impacts, but as an individual speaking and personally speaking about my purpose, my purpose is to ensure that my family has a safe and happy home, that I guide them properly and discipline them in a good way so that they can make better choices for themselves. And so it does definitely bring a lot of self-worth, and it brings my self-esteem up a lot, knowing that I'm doing what I need to do for my family. And I truly believe it helps with my children's self-worth as well, with their self-esteem, knowing that they have parents that love them to overcome all these problems, and together we get through it. We develop that purpose. And there's many different forms of purpose in life. Some people's purpose might be a lot bigger than mine. A purpose in life could be getting an education and tackling the environment issues that we have, whatever it might be. So many different levels of things that there are purpose for, but just getting that general gist of thinking about the directions and the self-improvements that every individual can make out there. And so here we have Mr. Pooley likes to speak on the body, the spirit, and the soul. And I think it's so important because we need to understand that there's a balance we must have. And so understanding that our body needs certain things, understanding that our spirits need certain things, and understanding that our bodies have a soul. There's many cultures out there, many forms of, many ways of, how people have religions, and many ways of how people pray, many ways of just spirituality in general. And so one of the common things that I think we all understand is that our body has a soul, and we need to nourish that in a good way. And so nourishing our body with the proper nourishment, with air, water, food, rest. I've always grown up with people around me saying, don't put bad things in your body, because if once you start doing that, you start to make yourself sick, whether it's mentally unstable, emotionally unstable, or just even health-wise. You start to hinder, and alcoholism leads to liver issues. Drugs leads to just the loss of cells in your brains, all these things that we need in our body. If you don't give your body the proper nourishment that it needs, you start to deplenish the good things that you have. And so along with that, our spirit needs nourishment too. We need the love, the truth, the peace, and the freedom of our spirit. As we live our day-to-day lives, we want love. We want to be able to give love. And so that nourishes our spirit in a good way. It motivates us. It drives us. We want truth in our lives. Going back to teachable, truth is a big thing about being teachable. We want to find the truth. We want to know the truth. We cannot live in darkness, and we cannot be confused all the time. We need to nourish that side of our body and be able to understand the truth. Sometimes the truth is hard to, it's a hard thing to swallow. Sometimes, someone's telling you the truth about something, and it's maybe not something you want to hear, but it's there, and we face it and we overcome it. Our spirit needs peace. Peace is a tranquil, it's just tranquility for ourselves. Your body, your spirit could be going through so much, but you could still be in a tranquil state and have peace. You could be at peace with things. And I think that's just one of the more important things about, spirituality, and for our bodies in general, is, being able to accomplish that and get to that level of still being understanding and just at peace with so many things. So, some things that just we can't control, we're still at peace with things. And so it's a good goal to have, I think with just the everyday dealings that we have to face. And then we have freedom. Our body and our spirit needs freedom. I know that I wouldn't want to be incarcerated. That's total loss of freedom there. freedom for my spirit. I would want to have lived a good life, while here on earth. I would want to have lived a really good life, and been a good person, and, did my duty in being a good mother and a good wife and a good daughter and a good sister, to where one day when I'm no longer on this earth, I am free to go back to the Creator or to the spirit will. Just so many different levels of things and ways of thinking about these things, and these are truly just some things to touch up upon when it comes to spirituality. Hope unites our body and spirit. And, in the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about hope, but really, hope is all about our body and spirit uniting. When our body and spirit work together, we are in harmony. And I think that's one goal that we all want to fulfill. We want to live in harmony. And I think the best way that I can explain it in my culture is Hojong. Hojong means harmony. And so moving on to hope, the power of hope is so powerful. One of the things that my mentor, Mr. Pulley, states is that, you've got to have so much hope that one day, if ever you come upon a person that has become hopeless or become in a despair, that you're able to give them some of your hope. Hopelessness is basically the lack of hope. Despair is just the utter absence of hope. And so, when our body and our spirits connect, it connects, and we have hope through our soul, and it's like we're able to, and better and capable to just fight more when we have a good plentiful amount of it. And so it empowers us to see a better future. Hope is a forward thinking of what can be and ways of getting out of problems. Just being hopeful and being positive. I think, being optimistic is that what drives that. No matter what happens, no matter what's going on, you're still facing it, you're still dealing with it, and you're still being positive about it. Like, okay, everything's going to be all right. That's my sense and my take on being a hopeful and just being a hopeful and positive, forward-thinking type of person. Hope is directly related to gratitude, humility, and our future. And hope is centered in the Creator. I'm Native American, and I know, my spirituality is, I have a strong belief in the Creator, and I pray when times are rough. I pray when I appreciate, my gratitude of being here and living another day, and my gratitude that, my children are healthy, just having that humility in general, that's also centered around hope and the Creator. So here's NAFA's approach. We teach 5 principles, and this is coming from the Fatherhood is Sacred, Motherhood is Sacred curriculum that Mr. Pulley has written. And so the 5 principles is this foundation where we have the Creator being the basis of that. Then we have choice, and then we have teachable, which is our topic for today, and then we have wisdom and service. And so the Creator is that spirituality I just spoke about. And then choice, the power of choice, and the fact that choice is something that no one can take from us, because every single decision that we make is ours. Whether they're small choices, big choices, decisions that need to be made, we make those choices on what we want. And so it can lead us astray, it can lead us down the right path, it can lead us to success. It's all us. And then we have teachable. And again, Mr. Pulley states, teachable is centered around truth. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to teach our children, is that truth is so important, especially now as they get back into school. They're learning all these great things and all these great tools that they're going to need in life, but also reminding them that, with everything that they're learning out there, they need to understand the truth about things. And so after teachable, we have wisdom. There comes a time where with experience and with the knowledge that we've learned, we get to a point where we become wise. We become based on, like I said, based off the experience that we have lived, we have become wise. And with that wisdom, we can then serve the people, and that's the top. We then can become serviceable to other people and help in that good way. So with Teachable is committed and devoted to truth. So it's our way of preparing yourself or ourselves for change, and this change becomes easier and faster. Without truth, confusion follows, and one can become lost. A teachable person has an open mind and heart. As we grow older and as we, gain more experience and more knowledge, we begin to better understand, just the day-to-day dealings with people or with issues. As we seek the truth, we begin to understand a little bit better, and we avoid confusion. We avoid becoming lost. Have you ever had a person that perhaps, will come to you and ask you for a favor or give you some information and you just know it's a lie? That's what being teachable is, and that's why truth is so important, because you then to just start, you just have this inner feeling, this inner gut feeling that's just saying, you know what, okay, I need to stop here. I need to find out the truth about this before I move forward. And so in that way, you're preparing yourself for change, and it just becomes easier and faster for you. You're able to make those better choices as you seek the truth. Some truths to becoming teachable. Okay, there's kindness, there's patience, there's fairness, hope, honesty, gratitude, humility, loyalty, love, fidelity, forgiveness, etc. Okay, so these are truths to becoming teachable, because as you gain, that sense of being a teachable person and learning so much throughout, your lives, and this is especially so, in our young kids, that they need to understand that kindness will go a long way. Being patient with things will go a long way. Being fair with everyone around you will go a long way. Having that hope is so important with being teachable. And then being honest. Honest is so important. We've got to teach our children to be honest, because that's where the truth lies. They can't tell lies. They can't sidestep those questions, or they can't sidestep that honesty by giving those little white lies. We need to teach our children to be honest, because once you lose that trust, it's so hard to get back. And that's all about truth. You've got to be an honest person. And I know we as parents, sometimes we fall down that crack, and we might tell a white lie. I know my daughter will ask, hey, can we go to McDonald's today? And I might say, maybe. Yeah, maybe I'll think about it. It's like on the verge of that little white lie, and then later on she's holding me accountable for it. It's so just better to be honest. If I would have responded in a way of, you know what, I don't know that we can make it, but we will try. Or in a way of like, I just don't have the money for it today. We can't go. Just be to the point. Those are keys to becoming teachable. Those are the truths behind it. Being grateful. Gratitude is another huge one. Humility, that humbleness that it teaches us. Loyalty, love, all of these things mentioned here, bulleted, are so important. The truths to becoming teachable. Barriers to being teachable. Your pride can get in the way of so much. Selfishness, complaining, laziness, criticism, defensive, jealousy, gossip, lying, deception, hatred, revenge, rebellion. All of these things listed here are barriers to being teachable. Because if you're a jealous person, you're not understanding, you're not looking past than the issues at hand of whatever jealousy a person is going through. You're not seeing the truth behind things. I know a couple right now where bless their heart, this lady is so hardworking. She goes to work every day. She takes care of her children every day. Like, she tells me all the time about how, even trying to look at another person or even thinking about another person is just far from everything she's doing. That her husband is just such a jealous person and always accusing her of something. He's not seeing the truth. He's not seeking the truth. Instead, he's making his own truth. He's making up things, and just he's basically going to run himself out of that relationship. And it's just a barrier for them, and for her to overcome, and for her to just really deal with that day to day is just so tough on her. It's so stressful, and being this person's friend, I try to tell her, you've got to get through this. You got to decide, is this what you want for the rest of your life, or do you want to be stress-free and free from all of this jealousy and all of this mistrust from this person? And ultimately it's your choice. You're going to stay and deal with it, or you're going to move on and be happy and have freedom and have that peace of mind, knowing that she's not going to be yelled at another day or be accused of something. It all connects. All of this information just connects. Barriers to being teachable. Another one that I can say is a real barrier in being teachable is that pride. Some people are just so prideful. Some people think they know everything, and this goes with every individual. It could be even just the day-to-day, just day-to-day teachings. I've had a mentor, somebody that I grew up, that taught me so many things, and when I would question it, they were just so prideful, and they would be like, well, how dare you question me? I'm your elder. How dare you question what I'm teaching you? And it was like, it was his way or the highway. And so it really turned me out. It turned me off from whatever it was that he was teaching me at the time. And it made me seek the truth. It made me seek other ways of understanding. And ultimately, the stuff that were being taught to me, I've become to realize, there are better ways out there. There are better ways for me to deal with issues out there. And that way that this person was teaching me wasn't the only way. And so when there are lies, deception, and secrets, you will find corruption. So as parents, we have duties. As a provider, we provide for the material, social, emotional, spiritual needs and welfare of children. Do not be a stranger to your family. We have caregivers. We give care and take care. They are involved in a responsible and caring way. They give their time, knowledge, talents, and love, which develops their children's healthy attitude in life. They feel the pain and joy in others with sympathy and compassion. And then we've got the protectors. They protect the family from dangerous and harmful situations. No child should walk through life alone. They defend and persevere what is important: family, freedom, life, etc. Then we've got the teachers. They teach and guide by word and example. Example, I think, is so important. Good and true principles. This helps children become productive and caring adults. And then we've got our rescuers that reaches out to help and assist family to be free from harm, evil, and danger, to help maintain or restore human dignity. And I think being a rescuer is somewhat of that level of service, going back to the foundation and the principles that I mentioned earlier. So the two driving principles of life: work and learning. Now there are two kinds of work. We've got mental labor, which is developing knowledge and skills, and we've got physical labor, good for the mind, body, and spirit. Through hard work and discipline, average people can become great. And I think that's so important for our children to understand. Now as they get back into the classrooms, they've got to understand that, they've got to work for what they need, or they've got to work towards those goals that they have. And us as parents, instilling that desire for them to want to be able to work, to want to learn, is so, so important. A strong work ethic is a way of life for traditional Native people. I mean, I know growing up, I've witnessed, the family coming together to work hard for that cornfield, to have a good harvest, to be able to feed our people. That's just kind of, it's a strong ethic that has been with our Native people for a long, long time. A working person is a blessing and not a burden to the family. I know that there's always one of us in that family. There's always one person in the family that will choose to sit off to the side or maybe even not show up. As the family's working together on that cornfield, you've got those few people that just choose not to help. And so they're not really blessing the family by not being helpful. The best way to teach children to value work is by setting a good example. And that's so important. I've got to talk about my husband right now. He is such a hard worker. My husband works in the masonry field. He's out there every day, and we live in the Phoenix Valley, and it is hot. Some days will be 110 degrees, but he's out there every day working his tail off. And I use that teaching there as an example for my kids. A reminder that somebody is out there that loves them so much that he's willing to take the heat and be under that hot sun is showing that he loves and cares for his children to provide for them in that good way. And so I truly believe that using that example is teaching my children that with hard work value and with that good work ethic, it's a good way to be. It's a good thing because they're benefited by it, by being taken care of by a parent that truly loves them. And so they're witnessing that and they're seeing that example. And so with that, they're learning good tools, good techniques for when they have a family. The skills and discipline we learn while young are keys to future success. And that's so true. Everything that we're teaching our children, the skills and the discipline that we give them, that really has a great effect on their success. When you teach your children to work, you are only preparing them for success. Learning. What should you learn? First, you must have a real desire to learn truth. Truth is the foundation of success in any and all relationships. First, you must learn the truth about yourself. You are destined to succeed. And as I've mentioned truth earlier, now that's one of the things that I didn't really touch upon is learning the truth about yourself is so, so, so important. Understanding that you are worthy, that you are worth more than the biggest mistake you've ever made in your life. That is the truth. And that with understanding just that alone, you are destined to succeed. Because now you have that motivation, you have that drive to be able to make better choices for yourself, to succeed. Learning is a process of building ourselves up. When we stop learning, we begin to lose confidence in ourselves. Learning is a lifetime commitment. And so with this, I say, look at education as your children's lives depend on it. It's so important. Going back to saying, we need to instill our children that desire to learn. I mean, if we don't do that step, it's not up to the schools, it's not up to the organizations out there, it's not up to the churches, it's not up to anybody else but us as parents to instill that desire for them to learn. And I know, I see in the news, I see social media, these teachers and schools, employees are getting all the slack and they're getting all the mocking and all the faults for children's, grades and all of the test results and stuff of that sort. They're getting the blame for all of it, when really we as parents have to understand that we have a big part of that commitment for our children. The more that we can instill that desire to learn, the more that they'll be successful. And they'll have confidence. They'll be able to build themselves up. They'll be able to have the confidence to know that they can handle everything that they are learning. So I'm actually running out of time. So learning is a sacred and individual responsibility. Continuous learning puts you in control of your life and protects you. If someone wants you to control you, they will limit your learning. If they want to dominate you, they will cut off your learning. Parents have the sacred responsibility to bring the desire to learn to their children. So, so important. Next, we have attitude. It's a subtle way of thinking or feeling reflected in a person's behavior. Having a good attitude is so important in life. There is nothing that will have greater impact on your happiness and success in life more than your attitude. Not your culture, your gender, your education, your age, your looks, your wealth. Attitude makes all the difference in the success that your child and yourself will face. Attitude also greatly affects the ability to understand. One of the best personal qualities you bring to any relationship is understanding. All people have a need and desire to be understood. Attitude can help us or hurt us. It can draw people closer or push them away. So in conclusion, I just want to reiterate the importance of truth and teachable and the importance of, finding the truth, seeking the truth, and understanding it. Being a good person and embodying the desire to learn into not only ourselves but our children, I think will go a long way for them to living a successful life, to accomplishing all the goals out there, to getting those good grades. It all boils back down to, we as parents instilling that desire for our children to learn. It's so, so important. And just to remind ourselves that having a good attitude, not just for ourselves as parents, but, having a good attitude and bringing motivation and encouragement and just having that communication with your children is so important. That your child, you'll see that difference in their attitude as well. You'll see that communication with them as well. You'll see that they have a better attitude towards school. And so we at NAFA, we hope that you learned a lot from this today, and we want to wish all the students out there a good, successful year. And please do come back and join us for next month's webinar. We have these webinars every month, and they're on different topics. And so here we have our contact QR code and the web link. It's actually to our link tree. If you ever want to find us on social media, our website, you want to find links to our annual conference, this link tree will get you right there to us. And then here I also have the phone number 480-833-5007. Give us a call anytime if you have questions or you would like a presentation. We'll also post this webinar to our website as a free resource for you to use with your community or your organization. And again, there's our website, www.nativeamericanfamilies.org. Thank you so much for your kind attention today, and I hope it all made sense. I hope it gives you some motivation. I hope it gives you some clarity. And if I didn't do it any justice, please come back and view all the other webinars that are posted online. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.